Howdy, guys. Sorry, I was making sure it was recording. I know that was super random. I am coming to you today because you have the opportunity to really show me what you know and how you're going to apply this stuff. And that's your first big paper. So, the reason why we don't have a formalized lecture this week is because I really want you to read the readings, but also focus your time on this paper. It's going to take a little time to percolate. You're going to have to think about these things. So I want you to do that, but I also want to specifically talk about how you can be successful in this class on this paper. Now, for those of you that are watching it, you're probably the same people that are watching the lectures. And so you're doing great in the class. But there are some of you that aren't as engaged as you should be. And so your grades are a little scary, especially since you want to walk across that stage in May. So I want to make sure that you have a diploma when you walk across. So you need to be successful on this paper, right? It's worth 100 points. So first, let me share my screen with you. I want to show you just some APA things. And I know you guys are like APA to death. Like, I get that. Now, I'm sorry, I'm turning my head because that's weird, but it's on my other screen. What I want you to do is I really want you to make sure that your APA format is correct. Some of you still don't quite have it. So you are supposed to use the student version of a cover sheet. So that student version does not have a running head. It only has the page number, okay? And there's specific things that we want on there, like the title of the assignment, right? We want you to show us this. Your name, obviously you're not Jennifer Strong, you would put your name. Now the next part is weird, and I know that you've probably heard this before. Because our department name is so stinking long, it's hard to put the department and the university on the same line. If that happens to you, just hit enter, put the university underneath it. You can mess with the margins, but oh my gosh, that ends up messing the margins up on everything, and that's a big nightmare you don't want to deal with. So I'm okay with you just putting it underneath. The name of the course, which is not ALED 340, you know it's ALED 481. You're going to put the name and the number of the course there. My name, Dr. Jen Strong, and the date, okay? So here's some other helpful hints for APA that I wanted to tell you. One is that yes, you put your title of your paper here, but take the rubric. Yes, there's already a rubric. It's up. We'll move to that in a second. I want you to take that rubric and use the different parts of the rubric as your first level headings. Why do that? One, it makes it a whole lot easier for you to actually do everything that's needed in the rubric. It's almost like a checks and balances. The second thing is it makes it easier to grade. And if it's easier for me to grade, you're going to get a better grade. So I'm not having to like go and try to figure out where things are. So make sure that that's correct. The other thing that I wanted to address, because some of you are still struggling with this, APA is very clear. Also, the syllabus is very clear when it says you need to use scholarly sources. What is a scholarly source? I'm going to stop sharing because I'm like super passionate about this. Okay, scholarly source is not a website. If it is a .com, it is a .no. Don't do it, okay? In ethics, I know some of you are like doing the Google, right? And you're getting this thing called the Stanford Philosophical Organization Encyclopedia. You think, oh, Stanford, that must be legit. It comes from ethics from a purely philosophical view, not the way we teach it, not even the same theories we teach. So don't use that, right? The reason why I was very clear in the first lecture and on the syllabus that I say, use your old books, use your old notes, is because we know that's what you were taught. So when you go for these alternative sources, you can get something that's completely wrong. Like, for example, some of you guys put into the Google relational leadership model. You chose the wrong one. So the one we teach is by Susan Comavez. The one you used, not by Susan Comavez, not even the same thing. So make sure that you are utilizing the tools that you should have, that it is scholarly. So I'm talking about a legitimate book. Talking about a journal article. I'm talking about your lecture notes. I'm okay with you citing lecture notes. I know some people aren't. I am. So please, if nothing else, cite that lecture that I gave, or the 2 lectures that I gave that talked about the different theories in the different class, right? At least then I know where you're getting that information. So those internal citations are very important, but having that reference list is also very important, because I'm going to make sure you're getting your sources from the right place. Because if you say something that's incorrect, well, then I can go back and say, what? Where did they get that? And if it's not legitimate, well, that's where the problem is. So make sure, it is really, 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 really important that you make sure that you are using scholarly sources and that you are using APA format. I know it's a giant pain in the butt, but with this class, this is your capstone class, you were taught to in 202. It was reinforced in 340 and taught again in 340. Really, it was really focused on 440. So if you've got those classes under your belt, there's really no excuse to not have this down, because you've got this, right? So double check and make sure. That's one of those things. Do not wait and put your citations in at the last minute. Sometimes students do that. I've never understood why you guys think that's a good idea, because you forget, right? You forget where the citation came from, or you don't cite it correctly, or you don't put it in the right sentence. So just cite. You can always go back and fix, but make sure that at least there's a parentheses there with where you got the information. Okay, so let's talk about this paper specifically. So I'm going to share again. I go desktop. Let's just do this. That'll be better. Okay, good. Now, let's take a look at this. This is your leadership philosophy. So remember what I said, go down, scroll, scroll, scroll to the rubric. So your first heading should be my leadership philosophy. Okay. Your second heading should be 3 theories and models. Your third heading, still first level, but your third heading should be my view of leadership. And then you can put a heading that says short summation. That'd be great. That'd be easier to grade. You can put that. All right. Then you're going to have your reference list, and you know how to do that. So let's go up and talk about what is this paper. We know, and as you've read, man, leadership is an art and a science, and it doesn't look the same for everybody. So I want to know, after you've completed these courses, what does leadership look like to you? What are your leadership truths? So to get you started on that first paragraph of what do I believe leadership is, I want you to think through that. Do you believe Northhouse's definition of leadership? Do you believe it's something else? What have you experienced? Going back to 202, do you think that it's something that was taught in 202? So what do you believe leadership is? How do you describe what a successful leader looks like? How can you tell the difference between an awesome leader and a crappy leader? So those are the questions that are there on this assignment sheet right here. Again, it says don't answer it verbatim, which means don't just go bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. That's not what we want. What I want you to do is just to answer those, that kind of to get you to think, right? What is your philosophy of leadership? Then you are going to choose 3 either philosophies, theories, or models. So why do I say philosophies, theories, or models? Well, because servant leadership, which you guys all love, that's almost like a throwaway one right now. Like, do something different. But servant leadership is not a theory. It's not a model. It's actually a philosophy, right? So that's open. So anything that is actually structured, a theory, a model, or a philosophy, from any of your core classes, can be utilized. It doesn't have to be just 340, because we realize leadership is a buffet. And so you get to go along and you get to say, yep, I like this theory, I like this theory, and I like this theory. But that one I don't want on my plate because it doesn't pertain to me. So you're going to choose, what are the 3 theories that are most impactful for you? So maybe you took 340 and you're like, I get this task and relationship dichotomy thing. Like that makes sense to me. I love Blake and Mouton because they put it on the grid and you can be high in both or low in both or so vice versa. And so you tell me, I'm going to use Blake and Mouton because it's easy for me to type people that way. It's easy for me to type myself, right, in that way. So you're going to talk through that. You're going to tell me how you're going to use that moving forward. This is how I plan on utilizing it. So making sure you have 3 distinct theories. So like, for instance, you can't say, boy, I love the 6 P's, and then give me 3 of the P's, and that counts for this. No, 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 no. You can't say, I love Blake and Mouton, and tell me country club, team, and impoverished, and that counts for your 3 theories. That's one theory, okay? You've got to have 3 different theories. Can they come from the same class? Absolutely. You can say egoism, utilitarianism, and Machiavellianism. Okay, they can come all from 424. That's fine. But it has to be 3 separate models or theories. Then that last pair, and we'll look at the rubric in a second. The third heading there is your view of leadership. And this goes back to the lecture in this class on the benefits, cost, and views of leadership. So that's the calling view, the heroic view, the learned view. That's what I want to know. What do you believe is your view? How are we developed into leaders? Okay. And so that is the what. You've got to say the what, and you have to cite it correctly, which means you're citing my lecture, because that doesn't come from anywhere else except for that lecture, because it comes from this book, but you don't know the book. So you got to cite that lecture, and then you got to tell me your why. So it's not the what that I'm looking for here. It's the why. So it's critical thinking. Why do you think that that is the view that calls to you the most, the one that you think is the most important? Okay. And then your quick summation. Why? Is because as a leader, you have to be able to tell your leadership philosophy to your followers. And so being able to do that in a bumper sticker way, in a meme way, in a tweet way, or are we saying tweet, X way, whatever. You have to do that in a short manner. So that's going to be a sentence. So that's basically your summary. Now, what do I not want? I do not want an abstract. This isn't a full paper. This is a student paper. I don't want an abstract. I don't want a paragraph telling me what you're going to tell me. Just use those headings and tell me what you're going to tell me. At the end, give me that 1-sentence summation. I don't need a conclusion paragraph. I don't need all that. I just want these headings and what's in it. So look down here again. So we are going to talk about your truth. How do you get full marks? Well, that is, are you actually using ALED terminology? Are you talking about, your belief in a certain type of leadership? And that's something that we've talked about in your classes. Are you critically thinking? Are you telling me the why? That's how you get full marks. If you tell me what your philosophy is, but I could tell it was halfway done, it's not engaging, you're not critically thinking, you're not going to get all your points. If you absolutely have no critical thinking and it's like 2 sentences, that's going to be 4 points. And if it's not there, if it's not clear, you're just not going to get any. Now let's take a look at this rubric. Okay. Now, one of these things is not like the other. You get 15 points here, you get 10 points here, you get 60, 60, holy cowabunga, 60 points come from this one section. So what does that mean for you? Focus on that section. Make sure that section is rock solid and you're going to earn your points. So that's giving 3 specific models or theories or philosophies, telling me what those are so I know that you have the knowledge, and then telling me how you're going to use them in the future, why you think they're beneficial to you. Like, for instance, some of you took 340 and were taught this theory called contingency theory. So contingency theory says that you look at the leader style and you look at what's going on in the organization, and you look at your followers, but if there's a mismatch there, you change your situation. Okay, that's contingency theory in a nutshell. I think contingency theory is crap, because you can't change your situation. You can't change your organizational culture, especially if you're like a mid-level manager. You're not going to be able to do that. So for me, that one is dumb. I don't like it. right? So I'm not going to choose contingency theory because it doesn't make sense for me. What I like instead in that realm of leadership theories is situational leadership. But the reason why I like it is because you have to diagnose each of your followers, and then you change your leadership because I can control nothing but myself. You change your leadership based on what your follower needs. It's not about the situation, it's about the follower, right? So since situational leadership is one of my top three, I would put that one on there. I would explain what the model is. It's Hershey and Blanchard. This is what they said. This is what you do. These are the D's. These are the S's, all those things. And then I would say, how would I use that moving forward? Okay. That's what we're looking for. So 3 different theories. Make sure that it is really something you covered in class, right? I've taught all of these classes except for 202. But I was there when they developed 202, so I know what's supposed to be in it. And Dr. Rotter and Dr. Master Giovanni and who else has taught that class? Dr. Cummings. We've all sat down and had these conversations. So I know the RLM inside and out, right? So I'm able to grade that. If you are throwing theories in that I have never heard of, I'm going to be like, where'd you learn that one, right? Make sure, go back to your syllabus, whatever you need to do to make sure that they are legitimate theories. Then in that view of leadership going down, right? Did you actually use a view that I covered in class, right? You didn't do the Google and just try to throw something in there. Then that short summation, give me a sentence, you get 5 points. It's as easy as that. Now, looking here, you have 10 points. A whole letter grade is for APA, because this is one of the things that you need to make sure that you know after leaving this class is APA. So if you do pretty darn good, you're going to get all your points. I will tell you that even though the rubric doesn't say it, it says it in the syllabus, and I know how much you guys love reading syllabi, but in the syllabus, it specifically says that if you do not use any citations in your paper, that's a 0 for the paper. And I'm actually going to send you to Academic Honors Council. And that's because you learned these theories from someone or somewhere, right? You weren't born knowing what transformational leadership is. That's not something that people walk around and have everyday knowledge of. So you have to cite that source. So specifically in that paragraph where you have the 3 different leadership theories and models and philosophies, you absolutely have to have citations there. In the section that talks about your view of leadership, you've got to have that citation, which is our lecture, okay? And there's on week 1, it's how to cite a lecture in this class. There's a whole paper on that, so you can take a look at that. That has to have a citation. And it's because we want to make sure that you guys understand the importance of telling people where you get your information. In the world in which we live right now that is so bifurcated that people are just making stuff up and they're like, oh, cool, sounds legit, let's roll with that. We want you to be better than that, right? Because you are better than that. You're like, wait, where did you get that information? Let me do a little digging. And being able to cite things correctly is part of that. So you've got to have citations. So if you suck at APA, you might lose a letter grade. If you don't do APA at all, you're going to get a 0, which means you really need to drop the class, right? Which is not fun. So before I end this, because I know it's gone a little bit longer than I even wanted it to, I want to tell you, take a look at your grades. There are some of you that are, like I said, you're killing it, y'all. You are killing it. There are some of you that are like, I'm going to pass. Like, I've got a B or a C. I'm kind of comfortable. And there's quite a few of you that are at a low C, a D, or an F. Do not let your lack of focus on this class determine your success in it. And so I can see on my end how long you have been logged into Canvas. I can see when you log in. I can see what you look at, right? And there is a correlation between those who are not doing well in the class and those that aren't spending time listening to the lectures, doing the readings, really focusing on the class. And I know you're busy. Everybody's busy. But this class may be the determining factor on whether you can take that job, right? So you're already like, yeah, I've got a job lined up. That's great. unless you fail this class. So don't put the cart before the horse. Make sure that this class is an important part of your week. So whether that's scheduling it in, actually putting it on your calendar and saying, I'm going to spend the next 2 hours just doing 481, whatever that looks like for you, make it happen. I don't want this class to be the reason that you're not successful in your degree program. That's not my aim. My aim is to make sure that you guys can take theory and you can apply it in multiple situations, because that means all of us have done your job, have done our job, you've done your job as a learner, and you're going to make the world a better place because of it. And that's what we really want. So as you're working on this paper, let me know if you have questions. Shoot me an email. We are in the middle of interviewing for a new department head, which is my boss. So next week, I'm kind of in and out of meetings and sporadic, but if you're on campus, swing by or send me an email and say, hey, Dr. Jen, are you going to be in your office at this time? Because I'm here to help. I want to help. I want you guys to be successful. That's why I made this video. If you've got questions, let me know, okay? You're going to kill it. You're going to be awesome. Let me know how I can help. Thank you. We'll talk later. Bye.